For the first speaker, Professor Shahbaz Khan. Professor Khan is the UNESCO Director of Regional Science Bureau of Asia and the Pacific and representative for Brunei Darussalam, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, and Timor-Leste. And he also be a fellow in many institutes in many countries. Today, Professor Khan will deliver on regional cooperations to promote appropriate SDGs-ready technologies and innovations in the Asia-Pacific. Professor Khan, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Panida, and thank you to our colleagues from the Asia-Pacific Technology Transfer Center, ESCAP, and all the partners for inviting me. I have prepared a few slides which I will share with you so that we can understand what UNESCO is doing. Hopefully my slides are clear. Of course, our topic today is about renewable energies and climate change. And a lot has been said already about the technologies, very enriching sessions since yesterday and today. I will focus on regional cooperation and South-South cooperation, and especially in the context of SDGs, SDG-ready technologies, which we are also working with APCTT. So let me give you some ideas. First of all, I'm sure all of you know about the Sustainable Development Goals. What science, engineering, technology, and innovation has to offer to all the SDGs. And from a point of view of science, engineering, technology, innovation, not only from those people who are scientists, engineers, technologists, and innovators, but how it benefits the whole society. That's where, with Dr. Michiko, we have been trying to understand what SDG-ready technologies mean. Through South-South cooperation with the government of Malaysia and many of our centers of excellence, we have developed SETI scorecard, which can look into for each one of the projects which may be proposed related to different mix of technologies, including renewable energy, how these can look into the possibilities of whether they are delivering to the SDGs and which projects should be chosen one against the other. And many organizations in Philippines and Malaysia are already using. So maybe this is one way to look into, but we need to have a lot more understanding of what SDG-ready SETI means, especially for renewable energies. Just to give you an idea of what UNESCO is doing in the Asia-Pacific region, my office is based in Jakarta. We are serving this area where you can see all these countries highlighted here. We bring together science for sustainable development, and we are bringing science, engineering, technology with the policy, science policy interface with society. We have a range of programs which are related to environment, also in the areas related to climate change, but very importantly, also in the areas of culture, education, communication and information, and how can we have inclusiveness, social and human sciences. So I will give some ideas from those areas. How do we bring a comprehensive approach? So from SDG-ready technologies, I'm sure we would agree that there must be economic growth and competitiveness, and especially during this time when we have these challenges of COVID and many countries have been left behind. How do we make sure that we bring social cohesion, inclusiveness, equality? For that, we have a policy lab in UNESCO, which can look into these issues at a national level and at a regional level. Also, we have been looking into how SDG-ready technologies can be accelerated, and especially in the context today of SDG 7 and 13. But we need to also look into other areas as well. Let me give you an idea about those centers of excellence, which colleagues have mentioned before. From UNESCO point of view, what do? We have a program on global renewable energy education and training. It's called GREED program. Its emphasis is how do we bring the sustainable energy base. And at the moment, we have many actions in Africa, and those actions are also being translated into Asia. We have a system of UNESCO chairs. Those UNESCO chairs are not just one professorships. They are like center in a university. There are 12 of them related to renewable energy. Also in UNESCO, we have International Sustainable Energy Development Center. In Moscow, it's a UNESCO center, which is under the auspices of UNESCO. It offers capacity building in the area of renewable energies. And of course, with our programs related to education and related to culture, we have active programs which are working in the areas of how UNESCO sites, there are more than 1,000 World Heritage Sites, there are more than 700 UNESCO biosphere reserves. How can we bring these renewable technologies into UNESCO sites, and those concepts, how can they be translated? The center in Moscow offers fellowships. So here is an example from 2018. So this is one way, one mechanism by establishing university chairs, by establishing UNESCO centers, we can promote South-South cooperation and having projects which are across more than one nations and using UNESCO sites as models. Let's also think about the strategies related to innovation. SDG number 9.5, the target relates to scientific research, technological capabilities, especially in the developing countries and in the context of 2030 agenda. So that's another very important area we are working in. And of course, technologies from many different views, technologies related to water management, technologies, of course, to renewable energy, but technologies in general which can help accelerate the SDGs and the work which science, engineering, technology, innovation can do. So what do we do towards innovation in UNESCO? So we are facilitating the development of innovation ecosystems. We are helping support the development of innovation platforms. In this regard, I would like to mention, we have a center in Malaysia. Its name is ISTIC, for South-South Cooperation and the Transfer of Technology. So it's one type of innovation platform. And in Iran, we have a center about science incubation, technology incubation parks. So that's the kind of platforms which are already there and working for many years. Also, how do we promote the innovation at the grassroots level? At that point, I would like to also mention the work which the engineering academies, engineering institutions are playing. We have a very active program with the Federation of Engineering Institutions in Asia Pacific, which looks into many of these areas together and promoting the engineering standards, the standards for innovation. When we think about Asia Pacific region, we have, of course, great countries like Japan, Republic of Korea, China, who have made tremendous progress, and many others. And also there are countries who are least developed countries who are still struggling. So we need to think about developed and developing countries from the point of view of the cooperation, which can be South-South or which can be triangular cooperation. In terms of the developed countries, there is association between research centers, academia, government, and industry, which brings this triple helix approach for innovation. But in case of the developing countries, the examples can be many. We need to look into many other areas of civil society, informal sector, private sector, along with the government, academia, and industry. An example is recently we have started technology transfer programs in Timor-Leste, where we need to do efforts in a lot different way to help bring the innovation system forward, which also includes the areas of renewable energy. In terms of science parks and technology business incubation, UNESCO is working with World Technopolis Association. We do annual workshops, regional trainings. We do technopreneur and entrepreneur development programs, so SMEs can be nurtured in this area. Also, we are looking into master plans for the science parks and technology business incubators, feasibility studies. We do policy analysis at the whole of the country level. That's where a program called UNESCO Go Spin program is very active in this area. Uh, we organize many global forums with the World Technopolis Association, which are the global innovation forums. So these are some of those examples where we are looking into different aspects of sustainability, technologies, and bringing the political leadership together. Also in Africa, I gave you the example of Timor-Leste. There is a similar example in Namibia. How do we promote grassroots level innovation? And we are combining it with the efforts of COICA, and this work is also being done here in Indonesia. So we are looking into a range of the issues which are being faced by the local innovators, and how can we build their capacity, how can we bring value addition at the grassroots level. So this ongoing project with COICA, as I mentioned before, is help build capacity, first of all, at the level of the ministries of science and technology, ministries related to energy, related to water, related to culture. But then we bring it to the university and to the social entrepreneur social ventures. So what do we do under this particular project is we are carefully looking into how do we formulate and review the innovation policy, how do we bring the innovation acceleration platforms, how can we benefit from between countries through their existing master plans, and how can we bring the technology parks together, technology business incubation ideas, SMEs, and how can we learn more from South-South cooperation. So I introduced this model before, which is the triple helix model of innovation. There are many publications of UNESCO which are available if you are interested to have a look on some of the work. And that's where the universities have to play a very important role with the industry and of course with the government. There are some very good examples already how this work is being done. Lastly, let me introduce Open Science Initiative, which is very important also in the context of this regional cooperation, South-South cooperation, triangular cooperation. So from the point of view of open source data to open access to technology publications, infrastructure, educational resources, open labs, crowd funding, how do we provide access with the proper infrastructure, citizen science. So this is a big initiative which we are promoting in Asia Pacific and in the whole world. And this particular initiative is going to come up with a ratification of a recommendation by UNESCO's General Conference in 2021. We have held already our regional consultations in different regions where we have brought together partners who are interested in the open science, engineering, technology, innovation, and the related ideas. And this recommendation will help us understand what does it mean from when we say open science and how we can share it better. So the recommendation from Asia Pacific is already prepared earlier this month. Lastly, I would like to also introduce a program with Malaysia UNESCO Cooperation Program, and with Japan Funds and Trust. These programs, with the Malaysia UNESCO Cooperation Program, we are working in Asia Pacific, where SIDS are very important, small island and developing states. And with the Japan Funds and Trust, we are working in the areas related to science and technology in the whole region, including science policy, innovation, and with many partners in Japan as well. To bring to the attention of many more colleagues, especially in this era of COVID, we have started a sustainable insight webinar series with both of these funds in trust. And we also work with the UN Office of the South-South Cooperation. And here, in today's context, I would like to highlight that there are many engineering societies and institutions which are actively collaborating on the South-South cooperation model. You want to know more? I provide you with some of those links on Sustainability Insight or through LinkedIn, and I can be personally approached as well. With that, I really want to thank you for inviting UNESCO to add some ideas. In summary, the collaboration in the context of SDG-ready technologies, we need to very carefully look into how do we promote such kind of cooperation, which is built on purpose, the center for excellence where they are, and how can we bring them to the next level of achievement through a formal process within UNESCO. Then also this industry, university and business partnerships, and then those platforms which are there, the incubation parks which are there. So there are a range of mechanisms which are already available, and SDG framework helps us bring it into the context of leaving no one behind. And I'm very grateful also with ESCAP Technology Transfer Center for the work which we are going to do to develop a technological database which will also feature renewable energy technologies for climate change mitigation. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Khan. Thank you, Professor Khan, for your